We're going to be talking about what's wrong with the AKM, boys and girls, because there's definitely better guns in the game, and the AKM sucks. Unless, of course, it doesn't suck. And it hits every damn shot and just knocks everyone on their ass. Yeah, that's right. Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Today we're going to talk about what's wrong with the AKM, or more specifically, what's not right with the AKM. We're going to talk about it in comparison to some of its most important competitors, the Barrel and the M416. We're going to talk about why the AKM has kind of slipped down the rankings a little bit, and also why it can be so incredibly strong. All this and more, so watch on. Now, if you would do me a huge favor and hit the little thumbs up like button right now on the video, and if you haven't already subscribed, do that, then tick the little bell so you always get notified when I'm coming live large and loud into your ear holes. This is the AKM that was popularized by our amigo Model, and has always been a huge part of the game itself. It's one of the original ARs, and in fact, it's the most common full auto AR that you will find anywhere. The M16A4 is probably the most common AR in the game, but in terms of full auto, it'll be the AKM. And then you'd have like the Scaril and the M416 and blah, 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 blah. How clutch is this revive, by the way? Have a look. How many hit points does Australoops have left? The answer is no hit points. There was no hit points left when that revive hit. I don't know how we kept him, but we did. The AKM has the biggest variance of the ARs. By that, I mean it can be just like, watch this headshot at range. Oh, thanks very much, lie down, that's great. But just as easily those miss, and we are running over there into 3 people instead of 2 people, and it's knocks and it's trouble, and this is the AKM in a nutshell. It's super high risk, super high reward, especially when you are in the early game. What makes it so interesting is its base damage. At 47.9, its base damage is an elite number. It's the most of any of the world drop full autos, apart from, say, a Mark 47 Mutant, which is the same, but it's obviously a tap firing monster, nothing to do with the full auto. And it's not till you get to the Graza, the elite crate weapon that's 47.9, that you really start to see something of a similar nature. Its rate of fire, though, is incredibly slow. 0.11 seconds per round for 60 frames per second, and 0.106 seconds per round for 90 frames per second. But in the hustle and bustle, if you're fighting against someone with a level 1 helmet, you can do 77 damage. And in gunfights where people are re-healing with 75% heals, which is the majority of gunfights, that's an insta. That will clear them 77 damage. So the AKM certainly has its moments. For a gun that has such a slow rate of fire and yet such a heavy hitting round, its recoil profile is kind of odd. It's long been known as a super high recoil gun, but that's not really the case. It's actually got reasonably easy to control vertical recoil. It's the horizontal recoil that's always been the problem with the AKM. And that still remains the problem today. I'm going to show you a chart. I did 7 sprays with the Barrel, 7 sprays with the AKM, and it will highlight exactly where the problem for this gun lies. But enough of that. We'll get that in a sec. Its time to kill is not fantastic. 0.333 at smooth extreme frames, or 60 frames per second, and 0.318 at 90 frames per second. The M416 is 0.34 at 90 frames per second, so it's nearly as fast and yet has so much more in terms of accuracy. This is the main competitor for me. This is the Barrel M762. It has the same rate of fire as an M416. It has a 45.9 base damage round, and it has a time to kill of 0.255 at 90 frames per second, which is streets ahead of the AKM. This is the M416. Look at that spray pattern. It's amazing. That's why people run the M416. All these things are true. Why is the Barrel so popular? Why is the M416 so popular? Well, they're popular for reasons that the AKM isn't popular, and that's because horizontal recoil is very, very hard to control. These are the 2 spray patterns, 7 rounds each, 7 clips each. Look at the AKM, it's everywhere. The Barrel has way more vertical recoil, but you can control vertical recoil. Vertical recoil goes predictably in just one direction, straight up. Horizontal recoil is chaos itself, all over the place like chicken vindaloo through a senior citizen. And you do not want to be running around. This is an example of the AKM just doing crazy things. Like, Look at the horizontal recoil jumping around all over the place. The vertical recoil, it's not hard. It used to be tough. The AKM's vertical recoil used to be a problem. However, that's a thing in the past. Vertical recoil, we've just about eliminated it. Watch when I'm trying to use a 3X with an AKM. I mean, this is crackers. Whoa, that's pretty wild. I'm like, okay. And then I get the typical AKM shot. Oh, we hit him in the head. Like, it's typical AKM stuff. It's incredible. Like, watch this. Driving through, he's all fine. Oh, I have a headshot and a body shot. Thanks very much. AKM stuff. It's the incredible risk, incredible reward. Oh, hello. Yes, watching Netflix there, that bloke. I don't know what he was doing, but it wasn't playing Pubg Mobile. Let's talk about a couple of situations where the AKM is actually very, very good. And the one that really rings my bell is front-loaded damage. Front-loaded damage is why the AKM is still useful in these close quarters encounters. Even though it doesn't have the best time to kill, everything starts at 0. That's the theory of front-loaded damage. So if you fire the gun, the first round on every single gun, even the fastest firing gun in the game, starts at 0. So your Mark 14 fires its first round at 0 and it does 60 damage. Your M416 fires its first round at 0 and it does 40.9 base damage. The AKM fires its first round at 0 and does 47.9 damage. And this is where the AK's reputation is made. If you're in a gunfight, especially a heavy gunfight in squads, where people are getting 75% first aids out and so they're not fully healed up, and you run into a headshot from the AKM at 0 seconds, it just decides the gunfight. It puts you on such a bad footing that you can't get back from that and you can't make good trades. And that's why the AKM, even though it's incredibly tough to deal with, and isn't great at medium range or long range, is still absolutely hilarious when it comes to just randomly starting the first round of the engagement with a punch straight to the head, which invariably leads to a very early knockout and a title defense for the big 7.62 monster, the Anton Kalishnikov monster. This also has the best iron sights in the game. Look, let's not beat around the bush there. The AKM's iron sights have long been acknowledged as the best iron sights in game, and I'm sticking by that one. They are absolutely gorgeous as far as iron sights go. Just a flat, even playing field with a little divot in the middle. The other thing that's a problem with the AKM is the bullet speed. The bullet speed's not particularly fantastic. 714 meters a second. I keep rubbishing it, and you can see in these clips that it still clears targets. One of the things about Pubg Mobile is there is a best case scenario for every single engagement, and the AKMs is this kind of brawling where people are low on health, there's a lot of healing and repeaking, and this is why you repeat with the AKM all the time, because that first headshot that we get on the repeat, it just ruins humans. There's no way you can deal with that, especially early game when you've got a level 1 helmet and suddenly it hits you for nearly 80 damage. Nearly 80 damage with an AR headshot. That is a tough road to hoe to get back from. The vertical recoil, not a problem. The horizontal recoil is absolutely mad. It's worse than just about anything else in the game. Maybe the M249, the Graz's got a lot easier recoil to deal with than this. They are the kind of guns that we're talking about though. Yet, if you just fire it off in bursts, like I'm doing there, the first 4 or 5 rounds are pretty accurate. The problem with this is that most people are bred to spray in Pubg Mobile right about now. Most people hold down the button and just expect an M4166X montage to happen. And the AKM doesn't do that. The AKM does not love that kind of gameplay. What the AKM loves is just smacking people in the head really, really hard and clearing their puny little level 1 vests. This is a gun built for the early game, and as the game progresses, it gets more and more annoying. It is slow. The rate of fire is slow. So it can be very, very hard, and the time to kill is slow. So it can be very, very hard if you are trying to make a trade and you've already been hit first to catch up, you've got to hope for headshots, and the horizontal recoil being what it is means that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So the AKM more often than not gets surpassed in my loadout by the barrel, and then the barrel gets surpassed basically only by the Graza. And that means that there's not a lot of time for me with the slow firing big dog of the AKM. But does it work? Yeah. Does it work great? No. Is it going to be in the game for a long time and doing bad things to good people? Helps to the yes. It's going to. But it doesn't mean it's one of my favourite weapons. It just means that it's a weapon that if you learn how to use properly, you can actually make a living with. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. If you could just leave a little like and a comment down below, I'll give you a taparoo to go on with. Remember to subscribe. And as always, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.